Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Make It Simple TV. I'm Heather Porter. I'm one of your co-hosts. Now, this show, Andrew McCauley, my other co-host, and myself bring in our inner circle of experts from all over the world to share 3 simple tips with you that you can action straight away in your life and business. And, of course, lots of other fascinating Q&A. So before we introduce our guest, welcome back, Andrew, to the show. How are you?
Hey Heather, I am great. Looking forward to the show today. I've got my Mac back, so that means I can actually talk to people and maybe you can listen for a little bit. But I'm excited today because it's going to be a fun show. Lots of really cool information coming out today. I'm excited about interviewing our guest.
Yes. Now, and I'm really excited about this as well. You were telling me about this guy, and just wait, guys, until you hear these stats. Okay, so Justin Williams is a professional real estate investor and house flipper with over 7 years of experience. Justin has flipped over 350 houses. Let me read that again. 350 houses and built a house flipping machine. You certainly have Justin that currently flips houses at a rate of more than 100 per year. House Flipping HQ is where Justin shares his experience and knowledge with those interested in starting down the path of real estate investing. From beginner tutorials to podcasts to case studies on actual properties, House Flipping HQ is being developed as the ultimate online resource for all things related to house flipping. So welcome to the show, Justin. How are you?
Thanks, Heather and Andrew. I'm doing fantastic. Just got back from the beach. I was telling Andrew I barely made it. So I'm still wearing my tank top. Hope I'm not too casual. Hope that's all right.
That's great. I think you're representing the lifestyle that you probably live, which is great. Now, before we get started, I would love to know, Andrew would love to know, and the world would love to know, how did you get to where you are today to become a, basically professional house flipper?
How did I get to where I am today? Well, I've been doing this for 7 years, like you said, full-time. Before that, I actually started a satellite dish business, which 1 year after having the satellite dish business, I had $120,000 of debt, a failed partnership, a bunch of employees that I had to let go. We moved from Utah to Bakersfield, had a 6-month-old boy who lived in the closet with my wife's brother, his fiance, my brother, 2 other of our sales reps, and in this small house, right? I mean, I would go door to door and sell every day in the 110-degree heat of Bakersfield, working 70 hours a week until we paid off this debt, which we finally did. Then I got into real estate investing, went to this seminar, and I was just blown away that this very nice man was willing to charge us only $2,000 to go to this seminar and then $15,000 for a coaching program. And I thought, no-brainer, this guy's going to teach me how to make millions, and he also offered the chance to win a free car to the student who, had the most, who did not the best, but progressed the most during that year. And lo and behold, after a few months, I realized this guy was nothing more than an information marketer, wasn't even in doing real estate at all. And, the crazy thing, Andrew knows this story, I think, but I don't know if he does or not, but we actually won that car, but just like every other unkept promise, the car was never delivered. So
Well, I know that story. You tell it often, and you've even got the slides of the car to prove it, to say this is the car that's going to win. I love it. I love it. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but just quickly before you go any further, you talk about these seminars and that sort of stuff, and I guess the real estate industry's had a bit of a kick around the pants lately because of all these people exactly like that. They're information marketers rather than people who do it. And I don't think it's just the real estate industry. I think there's a lot of industries out there that are proclaiming to be experts at things. Even our industry, internet marketing, is full of people like that. How has that affected what you're doing? Because you're educating a lot of people right now, but the flip side is, like us, you're doing what you're talking about, which is good. How's that affected the industry in general?
It's been a challenge because I think people in the industry automatically have this perception that if you're out there educating, that you're taking advantage of people. But at the same time, I don't think anything that's worthwhile, that's worth doing, is not going to be challenging. So if it wasn't challenging, I would almost think I was doing the wrong thing, if that makes any sense at all. I mean, I think being an entrepreneur is all about seeing a need and filling that need. But if you think you're going to be an entrepreneur and not get pushback, then I think you're highly mistaken. So I teach my students in house flipping that they are going to fail. In fact, I call it fail fast flipping because I want them to know from the get-go that this is not easy. You are going to fail. Let's get you to fail fast and get you to recover and continue to push forward. So I need to also take my own advice and recognize it's not going to be easy. I'm going to get pushback from certain people, but what has happened is as I've done this program, I feel that there are more people who see what I'm doing and they recognize that. And I believe over time, there will be so many more people that recognize that what I'm doing is, ethical. I'm trying to do the best I can, giving 100 times more value than I'm asking, and I think will catch up, and it has already actually. So.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But I didn't mean to cut in. Actually, I just wanted to ask that quick question. But let's go back to where you were. So you were winning this car, or you didn't win the car. What happened from there?
Yeah, I mean, so it was a year after my first seminar. I spoke at this guy's seminar because I was one of 3 finalists, and I don't want to brag, but I clearly won. I took massive action, even though I didn't learn a ton from this guy. I hooked up with the right people that I could learn from, and I spoke at his seminar, and he just never sent it. So I realized he was I already thought he was a fraud, kind of, but I'm like, I at least want the car, right? So I mean, he called me up on stage. People were clapping and cheering. It was pretty exciting, and he gave me a little trophy that probably cost him about $10 and a picture of him with the car, and said he would send it in a few days. Never sent it. So anyway, what can you do, right? So it took me actually 7 months to close my first deal, and after that, it's like a snowball effect, and I think that's so important that entrepreneurs understand that. I mean, it was like 7 months of me working my tail off before I actually saw any monetary results, but the whole time I was being educated. People go to school for 4, 8, 12 years, whatever, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they don't expect to make any money while they're going to school. So I look at it as I was going to school during that period of time with the chance to make money. So what happened, though, is after the one deal, a couple months later, I was able to buy another home. And then I bought a house the month after that. And then it got to the point where I was buying a house almost every month. And the first 3 to 4 years, I was able to do about 40 transactions. But then in 2010, I was transitioning out some things, and it got really tough. And I decided to go into rental properties. That lasted about 4 months until I ran out of my own money and my investors' capital, and that's when, so I had to pay the bills, right? I had to pay the bills, and I decided I had to sell 4 of those properties. And when I did that, I made more money than I needed to live for like a year. And I realized my returns were so much better, and I thought, a lot of people say house flipping is a job versus rentals is more of a passive income. And I thought, I've read books like The E-Myth and The 4-Hour Workweek, and I'm currently listening to Built to Sell, and I thought, why can't I create a house flipping business that will work for me rather than me work for it? And people said, no, you can't do it. You kind of said, I'm going to do it anyway. So I set out to do that, and in 2011, we did 60 flips, which was more than I had done the previous 4 years combined. Then the year after that, we did 120, and then the next year we were a little bit under that because of some adjustments. But then this year we're on course to do over 100, and it's literally changed my life. Within 3 years, I've gone from practically broke or not being able to even qualify to buy. We couldn't even qualify to buy our own personal residence to to making 7-figure incomes back to back years, and totally changed our life. We live in San Clemente now. Don't get me wrong, I still work hard. I love working, but I don't have to. And that's the beauty of it. And I can work 5 hours a week on my house flipping business if I want, and we'll still buy multiple houses. So that's where we're at right now.
So let me ask you, obviously that's a lot of houses you're buying, 2 or 3. I know you bought a couple just even today and this week. But boils down to you've got some really, really good systems in place to do this, right? So How important was it for you to recognize systems? Whereabouts in your journey did you learn that you had to have really good systems? And then extension of that is, what did you do to create those systems?
I believe systems is absolutely everything if you want to be an entrepreneur. It is your job to be the visionary, and I see so many entrepreneurs, I think they almost feel like guilty if they aren't doing things themselves, or they feel like other people can't do it as good as them. You have absolutely got to completely get rid of that philosophy. I always joke with my wife about, I mean, I don't even know, I'm not even a handyman at all. Like, I can't even fix anything in my home, but yet I've flipped this many houses. And I think it's just because, I always joke with her, I said, the only thing I'm good at, Tara, is getting people to do things for me. And I'm really, that's all you have to really be good at. I mean, I know we're going to get to the resource. I mean, you even saw me earlier, Andrew. I was having a hard time, like, getting on Google Hangout, and you know, my audio and stuff. And I'm okay to be vulnerable about that and let people know you don't have to be good at everything. You just have to find the people that are good at those things and empower them to do that. And eventually, and they'll be able to do it better than you after you train them what you're looking for.
That's a really important point. I think you've found some really great people who are helping you through this whole journey. And what was the hardest thing about finding the right people? Did you go through a number of them first? Did you happen to find the right person right off the bat, or has it been a bit of a challenge to do that as well?
It's always a challenge. I mean, you're never. I look at it as, I played college football, and I look at it as, a coach who, first of all, you want to try to find the right talent. So, you do that through, obviously, when you put out your, I just put an ad on Craigslist, was when I hired my rock star assistant, who basically runs my, you've met her. She basically runs my entire house flipping business for me. I just put an ad on Craigslist, but I knew what I was looking for, and I put that in the ad, and then I went through 100 resumes and just looked for the things I wanted. So it's kind of like you got to recruit the right person, but then it's your job as a coach. Where I see the biggest problem is everybody is blaming the person, right? They're saying you can't find good help, and I totally disagree. I mean, I could find 100 amazing assistants, within the next several months, right? It's how you work with them. It's your communication. It's how you lay out things of what you expect them to do, and that's where I think most people fail. But they blame it on the other person, and I just think that's a big mistake.
Yeah. So training obviously is a big part of it. When you got your rockstar assistant, was the prerequisites that she'd bought houses in the past? She knew about this industry, or did she have nothing? No actual experience, and it was part of the training that you helped her with to do that?
Yeah, so for her specifically, I thought, okay, why not at least try to find someone who has some familiarity in the industry? However, I wasn't really looking for an investor or someone who was looking into being an investor, because I knew that would be their main focus. So I focused on finding someone who was a realtor, because in this business it's really important, as you know, to be able to evaluate properties and use the MLS, and that really takes a lot of time to train someone on, and all the paperwork, and just kind of have that familiarity. So I thought, why not get halfway there, right? But besides that, the number one things that I was looking for is someone who was incredibly motivated, teachable, or humble, and willing to take constructive criticism. My number one thing whenever I hire someone now, or even work with someone like another real estate agent, is that they are very willing to take constructive criticism. I intentionally, from the very beginning, will give them constructive feedback just to see how they respond to it. And if they don't respond well, it's like, okay, this is not going to work out. So.
I love it. H.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, there's sort of that like fine moment or fine point in time where, as an entrepreneur who's bootstrapping their business or just getting started, they're in that mindset of, how do I make the transition into building a team when I really don't have the cash flow, or I'm scared I don't have the cash flow, and I'm also scared that they're not going to do as good a job as myself. What sort of advice would you give to somebody who's in that spot that's thinking, I need to grow, I need to get a team, but I'm scared to take that next step?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I mean, there's several ways you can go about it with using no cash or minimal cash. For example, in my industry, when I work with a realtor, they get paid on commission. So you can do that same thing with other people. You don't have to necessarily bring them on as like a full-on partner, but say, hey, look, here's this opportunity. They can kind of put in time equity or put in work and maybe get a percentage of whatever sells or whatever you're doing, right? But for me, the way I started with my assistant was she didn't start working for me and like here's a almost six-figure income or whatever, right? It was actually she started out part-time. I believe even in training her, because when you train a new person, it is a full-time job for you to train them. So here you're trying to get help, but you're training someone else, and it's very difficult because you're like, my job is to do my job. Now I got to teach this person. So I was very clear that I said the first week you're only going to be 1 hour a day. It's going to be like 5 hours, and that's going to kind of be your training. But I also gave her very basic tasks that were very easy for anybody to do, like turn off and on utilities and basic paperwork and just things that took a lot of time. And these utility companies are on the phone for like an hour and a half, right? Right, Andrew? So I was like, hey, what are all the things that take a lot of time but are very easy to train? And I wanted her to do those things. And so week 1 was like 5 hours. Week 2 was 10. And I think we had 2 weeks of her doing 10 hours a week. And then we just had it for like several months. She was just part-time, 20 hours a week. So it really only cost me, she was getting paid like $10 an hour and then $11 after that. But it really only cost me a couple $100 a week. And I have to have 2 things. Have them do a minimal object, like objects that are easy to do, tasks that are easy, but then also one task that you train them on really well that can take however much time, and that is something that they do when they have nothing else to do. And then that way, it's not like they're emailing you all the time and saying, I don't have anything to do, and it becomes your job to give them something to do. So her job was to be scouring the multiple listing service, looking for properties, and making offers. And as Andrew knows, that can take as ever long as you need it, right, Andrew?
Yeah, really, absolutely. I love that idea that you've got, because one of the problems that we had initially was when we had some VAs or people that we'd outsource stuff to, they'd finish the work and they'd say, "What now? What now?" And you'd be like, "Well,
exactly.
I'm paying you because I've given you this many hours a week. I've got to go and find stuff." Yep. And sometimes you're finding stuff that was just for the sake of finding stuff. So
yes, and it's a job for you. You're having them do busy work, so you have got to. And I've hired enough people, had enough people work for me. They have got to have something that they can do when you don't have anything for them to do.
Right.
You've got to find that thing. It could be stuffing letters or envelope, whatever in my industry. It could be anything. But you've got to have something for them to do to take up that time.
So what's one resource, tool, or even app right now that you just simply cannot live without?
People ask me this all the time in interviews, and it kind of goes back. I already alluded to it. Like, I'm not very techie. Even in my online business, as Andrew knows, with Mark, I found somebody who's good at all that stuff, and I let him handle all of it because I know I'm not very good at it. And what's interesting is I'm naturally learning things, but it's not my main focus. My main focus is to be an entrepreneur and to make money. I mean, to be the visionary of what can happen, not figure out how to do it. So honestly, I don't know a lot about apps. I have a hard time downloading apps, believe it or not. When my kids wanted like a game, I'm like, ask mom. I've only literally downloaded a couple apps in my whole life. So, but what's funny is I actually earlier this year was thinking about starting an app business, but I don't. Anyway, it's just my point is my biggest resource is people. Because
well, I was just going to say there's one thing I want to add that people that we don't know, and maybe we'll talk about this later, but. Justin also runs a podcast too. In fact, it's probably the #1 iTunes podcast for house flipping. He's had, I think he's done nearly 50 episodes.
Yeah, 55 or so, yeah.
So it's a podcast every week, downloaded in dozens and dozens and dozens of countries all around the world. And so I love it that you say you're not techie, you don't know this stuff, but yet you're running a podcast. You've got to have some sort of ability, but you're not letting that stop you going forward and saying, you know what, I need to get out there and do what I got to do. Here I am running a podcast, and I think that's great that people see this and say, well, you can't even download an app, so you say, but you're still getting out there and running podcasts. I think that's great. What was the motive behind the doing the podcast?
So about a year ago, we moved to San Clemente. My housing business started to get on pretty much autopilot, and it was fun going to the beach for a while and Disneyland. But I'm an entrepreneur through and through. I have the curse of the entrepreneur. I have 100 ideas a day, and I have to be creating. I have to be doing something. I have to be contributing to society and continue to grow and progress, right? So I just thought, what now? What do I want to do now? And it's like I can either go, build this house flipping empire and do 1,000 houses a year, which, by the way, I would like to get and end up doing that too. But I thought, life is short, you only live once. What else can I do? And I thought, I don't know anything about, I'm not techie at all, I don't know anything about internet marketing, I don't know anything about marketing at all. I want to learn about internet marketing. So that's when, I had only, at that time, I didn't even listen to podcasts. There was, one real estate investing podcast someone told me about that I'd been listening to for like a few weeks prior, and I thought, I wonder if there's other podcasts out there. Seriously, like, this was a year ago. I was like, I wonder if there's any on business, So I just looked at business podcasts, and I came across this guy who was, you had Dave Ramsey was #1, and then this John Dumas was ranked #2. And so I thought, hey, this looks interesting. He interviews a bunch of business owners, And so I just started listening to him, and I would listen to like 10 of these things a day. And I started learning about Pat Flynn and Amy Porterfield and Michael Hyatt and Michael Stelz, and they're like, all these people is like this whole new underground world of these internet like geeks, And I was like, this is awesome. And I just learned all this stuff. And so I emailed Pat and John, and John responded quicker. He had like some training, and I joined his mastermind group. And before I knew it, he started talking to me. I was paying him like for monthly coaching. He's like, okay, so when you do your podcast, this is what, and I didn't even know I was going to do a podcast. So I just went with it and did a podcast. And I just did it on what I knew, which was real estate investing. It just made the most sense. So that's
I love it.
So we interviewed John on episode 16 just a few weeks ago. So lovely
awesome
guy. And if you haven't seen that, go back and check out what John's got to say too. H, you're going to say something.
Absolutely. Oh, no, one thing I just wanted to say, a little while ago you were talking about how it's your job as an entrepreneur to be the visionary and to grow the business, and that you don't need to learn much. You don't need to learn all that techie stuff. And I just really wanted to bring that up because in our space of doing websites for businesses and online marketing for their businesses, oftentimes the entrepreneur comes to us and they just want to learn so much about it. And we see so many times when people are trying to learn how to do their own website, and then they come to us so frustrated. So I think it's just such an important point you made about the mindset of being a business owner, where you have to get out of that mindset of you need to learn how to do everything. So important, such a good point. And also, I wanted to ask you, what are 3 simple tips that you have to offer to our viewers and our listeners?
3 simple. Now, do you mean to get started in house flipping or just business in general?
I'm going to say in general. Normally what I was going to say is in house flipping, but I think that you're such a wealth of knowledge when it actually comes to business, growing a business, that I'm going to leave it up to you on the 3 simple tips that you choose.
I'm going to answer your question, but I didn't mention, I actually, I've started another business, as you know, my education business, and I've been documenting a little bit on a site called Journey to an Online Million. So my goal is basically to make $1 million a year in my online business. But I struggled with that for several months. It wasn't bringing in the income I wanted. And then, last month we ended up grossing $30,000, and we netted 20, which isn't anywhere near what I want to do. But I believe that led me to believe that, okay, I can do this business and be successful and whatnot. So I think you've got to get some education, but it can be basic. You don't need to know everything. I see so many people get analysis paralysis and get too educated. So find a few different people, not too many, but a few people that you want to kind of learn from, and then you've got to just fail fast. You've got to take action and know that you are going to fail, because that's okay, because that's how you're going to learn. But you've got to take that action, and then you've got to know that you are the visionary, you are the entrepreneur. You've got to build those systems that allow you to have that freedom. I see so many people just create a job for themselves, and they're stressed out and they're working more than they ever were. You've got it. It is hard work to not work at all, if that makes sense. It is hard work. It takes a hard effort. So if you're not 100% focused on that, it's not going to happen. That has got to be your focus every day. How can I work myself out of a job? What things am I doing that I can have somebody else do, and how can I have them do it? You know, I don't play board games. I don't play because I play the game of life, like real life, not the board game life, and it's fun. You know, have fun with it. Don't be careful of a few little things that you could lose money doing or a lot of money, but 90% of the things that we're just afraid of really aren't going to hurt us in any way. We're just afraid of not succeeding. So you just have to go for it, take action, and have the perspective of you are the business owner.
Love it. Love it. Is that 3? Did I count 3?
It was kind of all over the place.
All right. So what's a quote or a mantra that you like to live your life by?
You know, I always say, I've been saying this for years, think less, do more. And it's kind of along the same thing we're talking about. I just see so many people like ask these detailed questions, and you know, in our mastermind group, Andrew, I just put up today. There's this guy who I'm pretty sure he's been educating himself for several years, and he's been in the group for a few months. He confessed that he has not made an offer. And he's wondering about the proof of funds, and he's wondering like all these little things that he knows the answer to already, but he's getting so inside his head about how to do it the exact way. And I said to him, I said, look, I gave him a challenge. I said, you need to make an offer this week. I said, that is my challenge to you, and I predict if you do not, you will not make it in this business. And I threw that, I said, I've become a very good judge of who can make it and who can't make it in this business, and it really comes down to them just being willing to put themselves out there and think less and do more. And I'm not saying don't think at all or be stupid. I'm just saying so many people want to have things so perfect, and what's going to happen is they're going to spend years trying to get things perfect, and then when they attempt to do what they're trying to do, they're going to realize they have to change it up anyway, and it's going to cause them to be frustrated. They're going to burn out. Their loved ones who supported them are no longer going to believe in them, and they might lose their chance. So you just got to go for it, know that you're going to fail, and just keep pushing through. Think less, do more.
I know we're coming to the end of the time, but I do want to ask you a couple of quick questions. I was lucky enough to go to your mastermind. You've just spoken about your mastermind. You've been involved with masterminds yourself. How important have they been in your development as well? And do you think, would you encourage people to join a mastermind of some sort?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to surround yourself with like-minded people. Now, what I will say, at least in my industry, do not go join like a $25,000 or $40,000 mastermind group. Be careful of what you're joining, because these guys will charge you a ton and then they'll upsell you. So, yes, join one. Be careful of the ones that you join. If anything, surround yourself with several like-minded individuals that you can bounce ideas off of. And don't be afraid of that. I see so many people that they want to hold on to everything and keep these secrets to themselves, but it's just not how it works. You've got to be able to connect with people who can help you out. It's much faster path.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Justin, what would you like to be known for?
I think it's obvious that I want to be known for the guy who not only flips houses but creates a house flipping system, a business, a machine. Because you just really don't see that a lot. But when I saw that question, it's like that's not really what I want to be known for. And of course, I want people to know that's what I do, so they know where to come when they need help with that. But I don't know. I want to be known for so much more. I know you heard that I went to Disneyland last night and the beach today, and that's the lifestyle I live. And it kind of is, but I'm really passionate about business. Some people have a hard time getting excited about business and getting motivated. I don't. I have to be very careful with how many books I read and how much information I take in, because it distracts me from some other things that are more important to me, like my family and whatnot. And so I was just telling my wife today at the beach, I said, my kids, they're 8, 6, and 4 right now. And I do not want, we all have this image of our parents and what we know them for or whatnot. I do not want them to grow up and think, you know, our dad took good care of us, he provided, and we had fun, but he was always on his cell phone and not really in the moment, not focused on us. And so that's kind of my new thing is it's like, okay, I've obtained financial freedom. Now I want to, I just want to be present in the moment and enjoy life. Because I tell you, making money alone, being financially free alone will not make you happy. It will not make you automatically enjoy life. You have to learn how to live in the moment and love yourself and be happy and love those around you and embrace them. And that is what I want to be known for.
Definitely. Great advice. Great advice. H.
I just say thank you so much for all those amazing words of wisdom. This has been a really interesting episode just for myself, but I know for a lot of people out there as well. And as we start to wrap up, I'm going to flick it over to you, Justin, quickly. Do you have any last words that you'd like to share? And as you share them, please let people know where they can find out more about you as well.
You know, I know this isn't what you were asking. We didn't talk about this at all, but actually, you know, I've been checking out your guys' site, you know, the last few days, and I'm amazed with what you guys are offering, and I do want to talk to you guys more, and I think people should. You know, it's everything I'm all about is find good people who are good at what they do and can help you out. And even the name of your guys' product, what is it, Autopilot Your Business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what I stand for, so we need to hook up, and everybody else out there should too.
Love it.
As far as me goes, yeah, you can find me at houseflippinghq.com or House Flipping HQ podcast, or you can go to Journey to an Online Million. I don't update that website very well, but I do document like my online income and stuff like that, and I might get into it a little bit more, but I just really try to focus, which is why I haven't done too much with it. So that's me.
Brilliant. Andrew, anything you want to say?
Justin, thank you very much. You know, as I said, I was lucky enough to go to your mastermind you had a few weeks ago. That was your first one. And I'm sure you're going to have some really, really good ones coming up. And I know that it was a huge one for your first one. I was very impressed with the numbers you had there. And I think that you got some good quality people. And I know my wife loves you and she listens to your stuff all the time.
That's awesome.
So if you are interested in doing any sort of real estate investment, any sort of flipping, finding out more, Justin is the real deal. So go and check him out. Go and on the show site and you'll find out more about Justin. Thanks, Justin, for coming by. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. It was fun.
Thank you so much, and everybody, thanks again for tuning in. Come on over to makeitsimple.tv, and this is episode number 20. We have some more information about Justin there and links to his different websites as well. Drop them on by and let us know what you think, and we'll see you in the next episode of Make It Simple TV. Thanks, everybody. Thanks again, Justin. See ya, Andrew.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
We'll see ya.